Welcome to Christian Statesman. I'm your host, Zach Wagner, and this is episode 26, The Legal Double Standard. Anyone paying attention to national affairs over the last decade or so has noticed that we are trending more acutely towards a legal double standard for those on the, quote, politically correct, unquote, side of issues. We see one standard of behavior reinforced in the media and in the courts. For those on the wrong side of the prevailing political winds, we see entirely another. We do not, in fact, have a functional rule of law on many levels. We have a legal system, but not a justice system. And this inequity is not predicated on race, gender, or socioeconomic status. It is purely political. You may, for example, be able to settle a real estate contract equitably in court. Then again, maybe not if you're going up against a mighty monolith like, say, Walmart, who will paper you to death and make you give up eventually. But lofty matters are now meeting a double standard of justice. If you are in the clique of those who are favored by the deep state, you can get away with almost anything. Thus, government alphabet soup agencies and bureaucrats can lie to a FISA court without consequence. If you or I lie in court, we go to jail. The Clintons can lie, kill, steal, and cheat to their heart's content. None of us can do it. The Bidens have a river of corrupt money and illegal activity that border on treasonous with foreign powers. Nothing to see here. The election has mounting piles of evidence of fraud, and we cannot even get it into a court of law to let the evidence be heard. You can grab your gun when a mob breaks down the fence to your neighborhood and the cops won't even answer 911, but they will arrest and charge you after the mob threatened to kill you, rape your wife, and burn your house down. Those same mobs smash, loot, and burn your town and are called peaceful protesters, while local leaders berate their own police and tell them to stand down. Roger Stone gets hauled off in cuffs by over 30 law enforcement officers, while CNN remarkably shows up at 3 a.m. on a hunch for a primarily political offense. General Michael Flynn loses his home and his livelihood on a technicality. Meanwhile, former FBI Director James Comey can lie and obfuscate under oath while testifying before Congress, and no one raises an eyebrow. Hillary Clinton, during her time as Secretary of State, can receive $143 million into the Clinton Foundation and arrange for 20% of America's uranium to be sold to Putin-controlled interests without consequence. Then she can turn around and accuse Trump of being a Russian puppet, while the mainstream news nods in agreement. Governors impose unconstitutional lockdowns and Article 14 violations of essential and non-essential business that allow box stores to operate, but your mom-and-pop operation has to close their doors. Even when courts say no to those same governors, they are ignored. Our legislators sit by silently, pay passing lip service to egregious violations, or are in on the corruption themselves. These are exactly the scenarios the scriptural record warns us about. These evildoers have gotten on top of us from a legal point of view. People can only be pushed so far when they see clearly that the rule of law has abandoned them and may not provide adequate redress. We all know what comes next: violent protest, unrest, and destruction. Without repentance and a purposeful cleansing from the righteous within, God's judgments await in such scenarios. If we cannot right the ship at this very moment, we are all in big trouble. If and when the Biden-Harris administration takes office, these double-standard inconsistencies will be cemented into place, creating a permanent, unaccountable, elitist bureaucracy. These problems, the true inequality in the American system, which again is not based on race or gender but upon political privilege, will throw this country into turmoil sooner rather than later. No such double standard is sustainable for very long. Thank you for being with us today. Don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends.